All right, what's up, y'all? Coming to you with this instant reaction to the playoff games that happened on Saturday night, specifically coming just right off the Chargers Jacksonville game that just happened. Right now, it's Saturday night here in California. Just finishing up that game, and man, that was quite the game. If you hear some raindrops in the background, just because it's pouring outside, but it is what it is. But yeah, that game, you see how I'm dressed right now. I was in a meeting at work when this game was happening. And at the time it was 27-0. And I have a friend that's a pretty big Chargers fan. And he was definitely feeling himself for sure. And I was like, oh damn, wow. Because I had picked Jacksonville to win this game if you had seen the wild card video that I did. And so it's looking good for Jacksonville. But then I did think that it was very huge that at the end of that first half, Jacksonville was able to get a little momentum going by just getting a touchdown. I know it was isn't, obviously it's not exactly cutting the deficit down to one score game, but I think it did really mean something. It's like, oh, okay. Because Trevor Lawrence played just an unbelievably bad first half. I mean, 4 interceptions in the first half. Is that even possible? I mean, that's like Nathan Peterman territory. What if you remember that infamous game by that guy years ago? So yeah, but it was still 27-7 in the first half or the going into halftime. But then momentum's a funny thing in the NFL. And you could just feel it when Jacksonville got the ball back again and it gets cut down to 14-27. And regardless of how you get to 14-27 in a football game, whether you're down 27-0 or it's back and forth a little bit and kind of like that thing, you get a game down to 27-14, you in striking range right there. And by that point, they had all the time left in the world to make a comeback. And the Chargers, I mean, I guess the biggest thing they had working against them and the biggest thing working for Jacksonville was Brandon Staley. You could tell that this guy, the coach of the Chargers, was definitely feeling that heat as the game went on in the second half, just because this guy is, most people kind of realize he's kind of been coaching for his job, given how, the end of the season went with the injuries and playing as starters, his fourth down decisions last year, how he didn't make the playoffs. I think it was a thing where as long as they didn't have a disaster, even though they did make the playoffs, but if they didn't have if they had some kind of disaster showing in the playoffs, then it was definitely in play that he could lose his job. And when this comeback started to really happen and it got down to like within like 10 points or 7 points, that kind of thing, I was going on Twitter and all you could look at is see Sean Payton trending. I was looking up Sean Payton, Brandon Staley, because man, Sean Payton was lurking out there and you could just feel that momentum going. And the Chargers, man, they just did absolutely nothing in the second half. And it wasn't a matter of them turning the ball over, making like bonehead plays like the Falcons did in that Super Bowl in 2017. No, this was just a matter of them not being able to get anything done offensively. No sustained drives, nothing. I think all they had was 3 points in the second half. And with the way that the Jaguars were playing, I mean, Trevor Lawrence, he just turned it all the way around, complete 360. You're talking about a game where he goes from throwing 4 picks to going 4 passing touchdowns, 3 of them in the second half. And the whole Jacksonville team, the offense and the defense in the second half, played unbelievable. It's just amazing to see what kind of turnarounds this team has made forget about what happened to them last year, just this year alone. I mean, it started off 2-6 and then they really had that coming out party against the Cowboys. They won the division last week and the winner take all against the Titans. And then you see what they're doing in this game. It's unbelievable. But getting to the end of the game, it comes down to a final field goal. And yeah, obviously Jacksonville gets it. And it was just quite the comeback. I think, there's going to be plenty of time to talk about Jacksonville and, what they're going to be doing going forward. I think they have a real chance against the Chiefs. I would not, that's going to be a very interesting game to watch. But always, like as always, the more interesting story is in the losing locker room with what happened to the Chargers. And like I said, man, with Brandon Staley, I just don't think he can come back from this after all the stuff I mentioned before when it came to last year, his fourth down play calling, the fact that they blew the final game versus the Raiders, they missed the playoffs. This season, they didn't really kind of live up to expectations. I actually had them winning the AFC West. That's how much I thought of that roster. Granted, they did have some injuries, but then you looked at how the final game played out, and then this game right here. I mean, if you just lose a game, if it's a nip and tuck back in game, you can survive that. But you surviving a 27 nothing blowing that kind of lead, no, you can't survive that. And I thought he had a really kind of boneheaded decision in this game. It wasn't a fourth down call, but he wasted a timeout. And it was one of those things. It was challenging a catch, which if you saw the replay, was obviously, well, not obviously, but there wasn't an angle to show that it wasn't a catch. Granted, I'm at home watching this, but you do have people that are sort of upstairs for coaches to sort of tell them whether or not they should challenge or not. So either he got some bad info or he just had a too big of an impulse to make that kind of make that challenge right there. Because granted, it's not like in the end, well, actually, it did end up mattering because they didn't have a chance to use timeouts to have a chance to get the ball back. And all they could do was Jacksonville just bleed down the clock and they were just sitting there hopeless. So had they had some extra timeouts on their hand, that definitely could have meant something for them. So the Chargers are done. And yeah, you could just see Sean Payton been lurking, and he made that declaration a few days ago on Fox saying what's he's looking for in a job, and everyone knew he wanted that Chargers job. It was just a matter of if it was going to be open, and it's definitely going to be open now. I don't think Brandon Staley is going to survive this. I think you can. You can sort of, you'll hear about them parting ways with him probably on Monday, just because this team is not living up to the expectations it should be doing. And a disastrous showing such as this, coupled with all the things he's done before, I don't think he's going to be there. I never feel great about people getting fired. It's never because, these people are humans that got jobs and all that kind of stuff. They're putting a lot of work in. And this guy's putting work in, but he's just not getting the job done. So there you go with that game. Quite the wild game, an amazing game. The other game, 49ers Seahawks, I'll talk about that briefly. I was looking for a little bit like a major upset alert. So 49ers went up 10-0. 10-0 very quickly. But then Seattle puts up like 17 straight points on them to where it gets to be like they're up 17-16 going into halftime. And then they actually, I saw the point where it kind of went sideways for them. They were going down. They were going down to, I can't remember how much they were down for, but they were within one score. And they had the chance to kind of take a lead, but then they get a fumble within 49ers territory. And then after that, once they blew that opportunity, it was just an avalanche after that. And then they put up, 49ers end up winning like 41-23. Brock Purdy, this is an unbelievable story. I mean, this is on Tom Brady level, what this guy's doing. You're talking about the last pick in the last round, leading a championship team. Granted, he's on an unbelievable roster. But still, man, as a quarterback, you got to have some talent to make this kind of stuff work. And he's definitely making it work. So that's an unbelievable story. As for the Seahawks, I mean, the season was a success for them. It's just with the Broncos being as bad as they were. But it's definitely amazing what the Seahawks accomplished this year. No one thought they would make the playoffs. No one thought Geno Smith would play as well as he did. Granted, he did tail off at the second half of the season. I think going forward, they still should, if they're responsible, draft a quarterback. I would give Geno maybe like a 2-year deal or something like that. Maybe let a QB sit behind him for a year. But that Seahawks team definitely did some great stuff this season. But yeah, there's your first game. So yeah, those are your games for your Saturday night or Saturday, whatever, first day of Wild Card weekend. Like I said, the Chargers Jaguars game. That's a classic right there. But yeah, Charger fans, y'all gonna be feeling that one for a while. And I have a decent amount of Charger fans in my life, one that lives right across the street from me. And I can't wait to give him the business tomorrow. It's going to be fun. So that'll do it for this recap vid. If you made it to the end, thank you for watching.